Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Episode. Here I got a fun and exciting video for you guys tonight because we're going over Melon DS as it just updated a few days ago to version 1.1. And to say this is a fundamentally big update that you're all going to want would be an understatement. It fixes a lot of the issues I experienced in the last 1.0 update and makes some games playable at full speed that never really ran at full speed before. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But I will say right off the top, Melon DS is an absolutely exceptional Nintendo DS emulator, and it is my de facto choice for Nintendo DS emulation. Pretty much basically every game you're going to play on this thing is going to be completable from start to finish, and you're going to have a metric crap ton of graphical enhancements. And one of the things that got fixed were the graphical enhancements in and of themselves, because I showed you in the previous video, and I'll mention it later in this one, that there was definitely some corruption at certain internal rendering resolution bumps. But honestly, Melon DS just keeps getting better, and this update brings in a lot of fun, including stuff on the Nintendo DSi side of things that didn't really work before. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me, what DS emulator are you using? I would be curious. Let's go over some of the update notes, because you'll see here 1.1 is out, and that was November 18th. I know I said a few days, but it was more like 36 hours ago. The number one thing right off the top is you're going to see this DSP HLE. Now HLE stands for high level emulation, and LLE stands for low level emulation. It is basically two sides of the same coin when it comes to actually being able to do something. But this is a very specific use case and a very specific fix, because this is for the Nintendo DSi, and it really doesn't do much as far as the games are concerned, but apparently the previous way they were emulating this would cause issues in the game speed. You're going to see DSi also got some microphone input updates, so basically now, so long as you have the peripheral set up, pretty much any DSi game is going to be working and playable. If we go into something like Wario here, last time I tried to test this game, it definitely was a slideshow, and even if that DSP really isn't doing much, it has to be acting correctly if all of the rest of the emulation is going to be working. And you'll see here in this intro, everything is running at full speed. So if you've been waiting around to play some DSi games in Melon DS, the time is now. You'll just have to go into the menu and switch the actual configuration on the system from DS to DSi. You will see it's marked as experimental, but for me, honestly, I really didn't have any issues using it whatsoever. But do be aware that I have not gone through and tested every single DSi title out there, even if they are a much smaller amount in the library compared to the regular Nintendo DS. I do not have the time to go through everything, so your mileage may vary, but you're definitely going to be seeing a lot of improvements. And that little Wario nose animating in the middle of the screen definitely looks like something different, if you know what I mean. I've always thought that when I played the game. Now additionally, you're going to get a lot of improvements to the sound quality as well. It's going to be sampling at a different rate. It's going to sound a little bit clearer at 48 kilohertz. That leads us right into our first soundtrack sample. Go ahead and listen to the new quality for about 45 seconds, but come back as I got a lot more DS improvements to show ya. I mean, it sounds great, but the old version of Melon DS sounded pretty good as well, and honestly, you have to have a pretty good ear to hear the difference in the kilohertz, but it is definitely improved, and it's something that you can check out now. Now let's just move into some general gameplay, and you will see here we have this completely scaled in-engine, because last time I talked about Melon DS in the 1.0 update, I did some Mario Kart testing as well just to take a look at the game, and that's where I actually ran into some of the issues with the graphical scaling that have been fixed here. But as far as the overall performance is concerned, at even a moderately decent PC, as long as your potato hasn't started to rot around the edge and you have a GPU that'll do something, you should be able to absolutely scale the ever-loving hell out of Melon DS and get a much better presentation on DS games, because at stock resolutions on a big monitor, they just don't look that great. These games are designed for the resolution of the Nintendo DS, so definitely in my opinion, DS is much aided by actually bumping up the internal running resolution. Unless you want that super pixelated look, it's just one of those things. Normally enhancements I say are kind of optional, but I feel like for Nintendo DS, they absolutely are a make or break thing for me personally, But you leave me a comment down below and you tell me, when you're playing something like Melon DS, are you enhancing the internal rendering resolution or are you leaving it stock? Because for me, I basically dial it all the way up to 10x to get the best look I can, and I just go from there. But honestly, in 1.0, it was still a good experience, but you definitely could glitch things out. So there's been more than one fix on the graphical side of Melon DS in the 1.1 update, and it is absolutely worth upgrading for, more so than anything else outside of the Nintendo DSi improvements as well. Because if we jump back to the 1.0 release video I did, I opened up the actual window and started playing around with the different rendering resolution settings. And you'll see here at the end of this clip, things go absolutely upside down when it comes to the actual bumps. 6x seemed to work totally fine, but if I try to push up to 10x or even further, things will get really weird. Because you'll see here we can go from software rendering mode to internal rendering resolution with OpenGL, but if you actually jumped up to the 10x mark, this is what would happen on screen. It would just absolutely corrupt most of the game until you turned it down. And now in Mario Kart, you're going to be perfectly fine. You're not going to have those issues whatsoever, because this footage here is running in 10x mode, which never worked on the previous version of Melon DS. Now there's definitely some diminishing returns as you go up in that internal rendering resolution bump. 10x versus 14x, you're really not going to be able to see much to the naked eye unless you're on something like a 65-inch or plus flat panel screen. On a phone, on a handheld, on a computer monitor that isn't massive, it really can be quite hard to detect the difference. Now, in other improvements, if you are into the cheat database system, then you're going to have a lot better time actually adding in the cheats, because this has basically been completely reworked. You don't have to manually enter everything into the editor. It's going to save you a lot of time, and even though I don't usually use cheats unless I'm trying to get later into the game to capture things, it is a big deal. But that compute shader renderer fix, giving you a higher caliber on the renders, just 100% is the thing in this version of Melon DS that I love the most, because again, this is just absolutely a fun game to play as far as Mario Kart is concerned, and it looks great on an OLED television or even a standard 4K TV, because that really is the reality of something like Melon DS. A lot of these games can be a little bit tiresome to play on original DS hardware, because that screen was good for its time and place, but now when you look at it, you realize it is very inferior screen technology to what we have today. And with some handhelds, you can also do stuff like this, but honestly, seeing these games run on my large 4K TV just absolutely gives them a completely new life. And it's one of those things, playing Mario Kart with a multiplayer instance on a 4K TV is just a ton of fun, a completely different vibe than having two different DSs networked together that you're holding in your hands. It's one of those things, it does take a little bit of setup, but it can be a very fun time. And don't forget the Nintendo DS did a lot of different things, and that is kind of the charm of the system. Ninja Gaiden here actually plays more like a storybook, where you're using the stylus to attack. You can set that to analog controls, you can set it to something like a mouse like I'm doing here. But there's so many unique experiences to have on the Nintendo DS, and honestly a lot of them I just think are made better by emulation. It is one of those systems, I have more than one DS in my collection. I have a couple hundred games for it in my collection as well. But honestly now, unless I'm traveling and want to play one, I find myself turning to something like Melon DS when I actually want to play a DS game in my spare time, just because I find it to be a better experience. I find the graphics to be a little bit better, and it's overall a more easy time to enjoy myself, because I'm not always sitting on the couch feeling like holding a handheld, and even if I am, I'm probably using something like the Steam Deck to emulate DS in general. But a soundtrack sample 2 time more Mario Kart just because I love it, and I'll be right back. Definitely, I'm hearing some of those sound improvements, at least with my studio headphones on, but the fun thing is there's so many games to play. Something like The World Ends With You, absolutely a banger on Nintendo DS, but I feel like a game that not a lot of people have played, because when I do these emulation update videos, I try to use games that people are going to be very familiar with. One, because you'll know the difference in how they look, and two, if I stack things that I would consider deep cuts or games that weren't super popular back in the day, then it definitely doesn't do as well on the view side of things, and I always want the most amount of people possible to know about these emulation updates. So The World Ends With You with you. If you never played it before, definitely check this one out. It would be my maybe not hidden gem because a decent amount of people know it, but my Nintendo DS game you probably haven't played and should recommendation for the video. But honestly, Melon DS keeps getting better and better, and I absolutely love that. And there is just in the background a bunch of other bugs that have been fixed here. Things that would cause issues with a random crashing, or things that would cause issues where you'd actually have no audio whatsoever. So I really love and appreciate the fact that the actual Melon DS team is going in and trying to find all these rare bugs, because apparently that bug where you didn't actually get audio was quite rare, but they were able to make it happen 100% consistently, so they could go in and fix it for those handful of instances in which the bug would actually rear its head when you were trying to play. So if you want to grab this one now, I left a link in the description below to the Melon DS website, and you'll see here it's basically available for every operating system under the sun. Outside of it seems like Android. Otherwise, grab your version for your operating system, go play some DS, try some DSi, and have some fun. Bye bye.